Over the last 20 years, I've hiked nearly everywhere in Rocky Mountain National Park, and so people often ask me, what's the best hike to do in the park? But the truth is, there isn't just one. My favorite hikes are often 8 to 10 hours long and are far off the beaten path. But maybe you only have time for a short walk, or you want waterfalls, or wildlife, or a hike that is good for kids. So my best hike will probably not be your best hike. It's kind of like asking me what you should buy at the grocery store when you visit. I don't know your tastes or your restrictions, so I'm almost certain to get it wrong. But today, I'm going to try something different. Instead of giving you the best hike, I'm going to give you my top recommendations for some of the most common types of visitors. That way, you can find the hikes that best fit who you are and what you want from your time in Rocky. Today, I'm going to talk about 7 different types of visitors and my top hike recommendations for each of these groups. Hopefully, you can see yourself in one or more of them. All right, the first group I'm going to call the quick stop visitor. Now, these are people with really limited time, maybe just a few hours in the park, and they want dramatic scenery without much time or effort. So the first place I'm going to suggest is Lily Lake, right on Highway 7, just south of Estes Park. It's a gorgeous mountain lake with Long's Peak towering over the top of it. It's a flat 0.8 mile loop around the lake, really gentle. It's right next to the road. You don't even have to go through the main entrance. It's such an idyllic place, and it's so easy to get to. Now, the second one I'm going to list is Sprague Lake. Now, you might need a timed entry reservation for this one, but it's well worth getting. Sprague Lake is a 0.8 mile loop. It's wheelchair accessible, and it is just dramatic. Now, I especially like to be there early in the morning at sunrise, and I find most people go there and they go up and look eastward to watch the rising sun. But the secret is you want to go around the lake to the far side and look at the mountains as the sun rises, as they turn brilliant red and just fill with color. It's a gorgeous hike, and you can often see moose there as well. And the third hike I'm going to recommend for this visitor is the Tundra Communities Trail. If you're planning to drive over Trail Ridge Road, then be sure and stop at the Tundra Communities Trail. It's located at the Rock Cut Pullover. You can't miss it. From there, it's a 1.2 mile round trip hike up through the alpine tundra with dramatic views. There are even some really cool rock formations up there. Highly recommended, especially June, July, and August. After that, it starts to get pretty chilly up there. But it's a great one to do if you want a lot of bang for your buck without a lot of effort, and it's right next to the road. Now, the second group I'd like to talk about are the family-friendly explorers, and these are people with kids, such as parents or grandparents who are visiting with children. Now, the previous hikes that I mentioned are all good for kids as well, but here are a few others you might want to check out. The first of these is the Alluvial Fan, and this is located near Horseshoe Park, and it's a great place, especially in the summer, midsummer, when the water slows down. There are lots of boulders and a beautiful little stream and some cascades, places for kids to splash in the water or climb on rocks, and the trail's only about 0.4 miles long. Kids can be very entertained here for quite a long time. And the second spot I'd recommend for kids is going up to Bear Lake. There's a trail around the lake. It's 0.6 miles. At the trail, kids will see park rangers. They'll see high peaks above the lake. They'll go through forests. There are large boulders on different sides of the lake. It's really a fun place. My son really enjoyed it when he was a child. Now, the third place I'd recommend is Adams Falls in East Meadow, located on the west side of the park, just outside the town of Grand Lake on the East Inlet Trail. Now, it's just 0.3 miles up to Adams Falls, where there's a large cascading waterfall that gives a real roar and throwing water into the air. Kids seem to enjoy it. It is a bit of a climb up there, but it is pretty short. And then if you have energy, continue on another 0.3 miles up to East Meadow, where there's some beautiful views, and you can occasionally see moose grazing in the meadow. Round trip, if you go all the way, it's 1.2 miles, so very doable for most children. Now, the third group are the lake lovers. Now, these are visitors who want a moderate hike with a really scenic mountain lake at the end. Now, the first hike I'm going to recommend is actually the busiest hike in all of Rocky Mountain National Park, but for good reason. It's Dream and Emerald Lakes, and here you have just stunning mountain lakes right at the base of these peaks, and they just rise right up before you. And it doesn't take a lot of hiking either. It's just 3.4 miles round trip, but well worth doing. Just such a stunning place, and I really recommend that you go there early in the morning at sunrise or just after the sun rises, as it's spectacular, and you'll have a little more quiet at that time of day as well. The second place I'd recommend is up to Mills Lake. This lake is named after Enos Mills, who was one of the founders of the park, and so it is one of the most beautiful lakes right at the base of Long's Peak. A round trip, it's about 5.4 miles. They're great spots to picnic up there, and I love to just head up, sit down, and read a good book. It's just so stunning. Now, the third hike I want to recommend is Sky Pond. Now, this is a bit of a longer hike, a little more strenuous. There is some scrambling up the side of a waterfall, but it's really stunning. A beautiful place, and this also has become very popular over recent years, so be ready for some crowds. Now, the fourth group are wildlife seekers. Now, these are people hoping to see elk, moose, or other wildlife out in the park, and there are a lot. We have over 60 different species of mammal in Rocky Mountain National Park. Now, I recommend that you bring binoculars so that you can watch from a safe distance, and that you keep your eyes open even when you're driving, because you never know when you'll see wildlife. And although I'm going to list a few trails here where I regularly see wildlife, that doesn't mean that you will see them. Now, your best bet is to go early in the mornings or later in the evenings. That's when they're usually most active. But there's no certainty when you're talking about wildlife. The first hike that I'm going to recommend is Cub Lake. It starts on the west side of Moraine Park, and this hike is great for seeing elk in the meadows, finding moose grazing in some of the ponds. You also find a lot of waterfowl along the way. I recommend doing it early in the morning if you can, and it's 4.8 miles round trip and just a beautiful hike through a lush valley and up through an aspen grove, up to a gorgeous lake with lots of lily pads all over it and a dramatic view of Stone Peak high above it. The second trail for wildlife is a much shorter one, and this is the Coyote Valley Trail, located in the Kawanichi Valley on the west side of the park. And the Coyote Valley Trail is a very easy, wheelchair-accessible trail, but you'll often see moose along that trail, especially early in the morning. So check it out. It's even great for kids, very easy to do. And the third one is one most people probably wouldn't think of, and this one begins at the Alpine Visitor Center up at the top of Trail Ridge Road. And it starts just opposite the visitor center on the other side of the road, and it's called the Western Ute Trail. And I recommend taking this down to Forest Canyon Pass, which is where you'll find a number of tarns, small bodies of water, kind of like ponds, located right at tree line. I recommend hiking down to that spot and then hiking back up. That makes it a 3-mile round trip hike. Now, this hike is great for seeing marmot and pika. You can even see elk and bighorn sheep along this way. I've even seen coyotes running around up here. Again, like the other hikes, I recommend doing it early in the morning so you avoid the storms, because it can be dangerous to do a hike up in the tundra during the afternoons, during the summer when we have a lot of electrical storms. And the fifth group I'm going to call the Solitude Seeker. These are people who want to avoid the crowds and just be immersed in the silence of the wilderness. Now, the first hike that I suggest for those wanting solitude is Lawn Lake. Now, it's a beautiful hike up there through deep forest and alongside a rushing stream. It's 12 miles round trip, but such a gorgeous hike. And if you get all the way up to the lake itself, this lake is right at tree line and is surrounded on 3 sides by gorgeous peaks. It's one of those overlooked gems in Rocky Mountain National Park. The second place I'd recommend is Finch and Pear Lake, located in the Wild Basin area of Rocky Mountain National Park. And this hike is another one of those really quiet gems. Much of the hike is through deep forest, and it is a bit of a climb. If you're going all the way up to Pear Lake, it is 12.6 miles round trip. But even if you only go to Finch Lake, it is well worth doing. The lakes themselves are stunning. It's one of those quiet places that I will regularly go to when I just want to escape the crowds. Now, the third hike I'd like to recommend is the Colorado River Trail. Now, this starts on the west side of Rocky Mountain National Park, and you can actually follow the trail all the way up to the source of the Colorado River. I actually did a video about that. But the first section of trail can be a little bit busy, but as soon as you get past Lulu City, you will have the area pretty much to yourself. There's even an area called Little Yellowstone with wonderful rock formations. Check out my video if you're interested and want to know what's on this hike, because there's so much to see and it's well worth doing. Now, the sixth group are the photographers. This is my community here. These are the people who want the most photogenic spots. And there are a lot of them in Rocky Mountain National Park. And you don't have to hike to all of them. There are a lot of great places that you can photograph right from beside the road. But I'm going to list 3 of my favorite places for doing photography in Rocky Mountain National Park. That gives you a little bit of diversity. But if you want a whole bunch of other locations, I've got a guide called The Photographer's Guide to Rocky Mountain National Park with about 130 different locations. So the 3 I'm going to list today are just a couple. And the first of those is one of the most dramatic and beautiful places you're going to find in Rocky Mountain National Park, and that is Chasm Lake. Now, the hike up there is pretty steep, and it's 8.4 miles round trip. But boy, is it gorgeous and dramatic. I really recommend that you leave dark and early and you get to Chasm Lake before sunrise, as the entire amphitheater of Longs Peak and Mount Meeker and Mount Lady Washington just light up and reflect in this beautiful mountain lake. Even if you don't go all the way, there is still a lot to photograph once you get up above tree line. Now, the second hike I'd highly recommend is the Eastern Ute Trail up to Timberline Pass. And this is just off of Trail Ridge Road, just after you get above tree line on the east side of Trail Ridge Road. This is all above tree line, so you're in alpine tundra with dramatic views of Longs Peak. And this is generally best in late afternoon and early evening, but you're going to want to wait until the afternoon's thunderstorms are completely over, because this is a very exposed area and can be dangerous if you're there in an electrical storm. But stunning views, and if you're there during midsummer, the flowers along the trail are just magnificent. Just be careful not to walk on the vegetation. If you're going to go off trail, stay on the rocks. Now, the third location I'm going to suggest to you is Calypso Cascades and Ouzel Falls, located in the Wild Basin area of Rocky Mountain National Park. And I've done a video on this on the hike up to Thunder Lake, and we go first to Calypso and Ouzel, so you can check it out for yourselves. But this one is very different. It's through deep forest up to cascades and waterfalls, and lots of small details you can photograph. Great place to go on an overcast day and just spend your time photographing water and forest scenes. I love that area. It's really, really beautiful. If you go all the way up to Ouzel Falls and back, it is 5.4 miles. Now, the final group I'm going to talk about, I call the adventure hiker. And these are people who are very fit. They're experienced hikers, and they're looking for an all-day challenge and some big rewards. Now, the first place I'll suggest is a place I seem to go all the time. In fact, I was just up there the other day. I probably go up 15, 20 times a year, and that's up Flat Top Mountain and Hallett Peak. And that starts right at Bear Lake, and it takes you way up above tree line with dramatic views of Rocky Mountain National Park. Highly recommend it. It's about 10 miles round trip with several thousand feet of elevation gain, but easy to get to and easy to find your way. And from there are lots of other possibilities as well. But again, be aware of the afternoon thunderstorms that we get here in the mountains during the summer season. The second hike is probably one you wouldn't have thought of, and that is up to Lake Verna on the west side of Rocky Mountain National Park. It's the East Inlet Trail, and it's 13.2 miles round trip. Most people only go up partway, and I recommend going all the way up to Lake Verna. It's a stunning mountain lake. I made a video on it, which you can check out. But one of my favorite hikes is just all the way along. There's so many diverse things, from beautiful marshy meadows with moose in it, up through deep forests, waterfalls along the way, up to this gorgeous mountain lake that just feels like the end of the world and just so quiet. It's one of those places I would love to live. Just beautiful. Now, the third hike I'd really recommend doing, if you're fit and well acclimated to the elevation, is to head up to the boulder field on Longs Peak. It is a stunning hike. I mean, just so dramatic. And up there, you're going to be surrounded by Mount Lady, Washington, this giant granite block of Longs Peak and Storm Peak. And it is just an otherworldly experience being up at that elevation and in that particular condition in the boulder field. It's really an incredible place. Now, if you've done a lot of climbing and you've got good balance and you know what you're doing, then you might want to consider heading up Longs Peak, but be aware it is not a hike from the boulder field onward. It is actually a climb with drops of hundreds of feet. You want to be very careful and you want to know what you're doing. Check out my book for the details on going all the way to the top of Longs Peak. But even if you only go to the boulder field, it truly is stunning and well worth doing, even if you don't go up to the summit. Now, if any of these hikes piqued your interest, you'll find all the details for them in my book, Hiking Rocky Mountain National Park, The Essential Guide. It'll tell you where the trailhead is, what time of day you should do the hike, what to expect along the way. It also has maps, waypoints, mileage, elevation graphs, color photos of each hike, and lots more. I spent a year of my life putting this one together. Now, if you feel like you don't perfectly fit in any of these categories, that's pretty normal. We all have different needs, time frames, fitness levels, etc. So what I encourage you to do is to find a copy of my hiking guide, and I'll tell you how you can use it to find the best hike for you. Unlike other hiking guides, I've organized this so that it's easy to find which hikes match your fitness level. The first hike in the book is the easiest, the next is a little harder, and each hike after that is progressively harder. So once you find a hike that matches your level, all the other ones around it should be worth considering, as they'll probably be within your level as well. I also have a section in the book which lists the best hikes for viewing wildflowers, for visiting lakes, hikes that take you to summits, through the tundra, spring hikes, winter hikes, etc. Using these tools, as well as the photos in the book, should help you narrow down which hike is best for you. You may also want to watch my growing collection of hiking videos here on YouTube. Well, finding the perfect hike is a lot like finding the perfect meal. Only you know your tastes. Hopefully today gave you a few ideas to help narrow down your choices. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you out on the trail. To help you prepare for your visit to Rocky Mountain National Park, visit my website, rockymountainnationalpark.com. For hiking guides, calendars, coffee table books, and more, visit rockytrailpress.com. And when you arrive, be sure and stop by my gallery in downtown Estes Park. It's called Images of Rocky Mountain National Park.